The People's Democratic Party said on Tuesday that it has commenced a legal action against the Independent National Electoral Commission to compel the inclusion of its candidate, Oluwole Oluyede, in the upcoming Ekiti State governorship election. PDP National Publicity Secretary, Ememobong, described the candidate's exclusion as a threat to a free and credible electoral process. The election is scheduled for June 20, 2026. Oluyede secured victory in the party's primary election, conducted from November 8 into the early hours of November 9. Ememobong accused INEC of bias against the Taminu Turaki-led National Working Committee of the PDP. The exclusion of the name and particulars of our candidate from the list of candidates for the 2026 governorship election in Ekiti State by INEC is yet another confirmation of the biased disposition of the current leadership of the Commission towards the affairs of the People's Democratic Party, Ememobong said. He added that INEC was duly notified of the conduct of the primaries, attended and monitored the exercise, and issued reports confirming that the primaries were conducted in accordance with the law. Following this, INEC released the relevant nomination portal codes to our party, through which the official nomination forms were accessed, before they disingenuously blocked the code a few days before the submission date, causing us to resort to manual submission at their office, receipt of which was acknowledged, he said. Ememobong emphasized that there was no court order or contrary submission disputing Oluyede's nomination. Being fully aware of the grave and far-reaching consequences of excluding a validly nominated candidate from an election, INEC ought to have acted with caution and responsibility by including the name of Dr. Oluwole Oluyede, the duly nominated candidate of the PDP, in the published list of candidates. This would have been the safest and most lawful course of action for the Commission, had it acted without bias. There is no contrary submission before INEC disputing the validity of Dr. Oluyede's nomination. There is also no court order restraining the Commission from recognizing him as the PDP's candidate. Indeed, INEC's own monitoring report attests to the validity of the primaries and the nomination process, he said. The PDP also warned INEC to uphold its role as a defender of democracy. Having failed to act appropriately, our party has immediately taken steps to approach the courts to compel INEC to do what it ought to have done in the first place. While we undertake this long and tortuous legal route, we once again draw the attention of INEC to the expectations of Nigerians that the Commission must remain independent, impartial, and neutral in matters relating to political parties and the electoral process, Ememobong said. He added, while we acknowledge the saying that he who pays the piper calls the tune, the Commission must be conscious that the tune currently being dictated is dangerously high-pitched and will ultimately harm the piper. INEC must always act in defense of democracy, and never in antagonism to it. Meanwhile, presidential aspirant and PDP chieftain Benga Olavepo Hashim has urged the party's National Executive Committee to rise above factional interests and resolve the ongoing internal crisis. Hashim said the party already possesses the constitutional authority to resolve the impasse without litigation. According to him, there are more than enough legitimate members of the NEC to convene a meeting and resolve this crisis within 1 week. Sections 3, 1, and 3, 4, of the PDP Constitution empower 2/3 of NEC members to convene a meeting, stressing that the majority of NEC members were elected before the disputed Ibadan Convention and therefore retain unquestionable legitimacy, the statement read. He also clarified that although the tenure of certain members of the National Working Committee ended on December 8, pre-Ibadan NEC members retain constitutional authority to intervene and take corrective measures. What is required now is courage and responsibility. NEC members must rise above factional interests and stand for posterity, for the party, and for the nation. The continued internal paralysis could weaken the PDP's capacity as a credible opposition party and ultimately undermine Nigeria's democratic balance. We can fix this problem, and we should, he said. Turaki, responding to Hashim, thanked him for his commitment to party unity, assuring that his leadership remains open to reconciliation, provided such efforts do not undermine the party's stability, unity, or continued existence. The dispute stems from factional differences within the PDP. While PDP governors endorsed the Ibadan Convention, which elected Turaki, San, and other members of the National Working Committee on November 16 for a 4-year term, the Whig-aligned faction led by the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory and allies Muhammad Abdul Rahman and Senator Anyanwu insisted they still held the positions of acting national chairman and acting national secretary. The Whig-aligned faction also appointed a 13-member caretaker committee on December 8 with a 60-day mandate. Since then, both factions have been seeking formal recognition from INEC, which has refused to recognize any individual as the PDP candidate for the Ekiti election.